All right, ladies and gentlemen, my name is AJ Hall. I bring to you Is It Good to You, a podcast by me. This is episode 1. I'm going to be interviewing the big homie LLMIND, but before I get started, I got to let y'all know that this episode is brought to you by Santa Teresa Rum 1796. If you know me, you know I'm a rum guy, and this has absolutely become my favorite rum to drink. They've recently hooked me up with a couple of sponsorships in my DJ gigs around town, and I'm looking forward to working with them more in the future. So if you're in any town with any kind of mixology scene, you got to check out Santa Teresa Rum, man. They were so nice, they even gave me my own bottle. And when I say my own bottle, I mean my own bottle, dog. Look at this. Do y'all see that, man? The AJ volume. Look at this, man. This is ridiculous. Right on the back right there. That's my signature. That's crazy. So I'm going to crack this open. I'm going to pour myself something, sit back and relax. We're going to hang out with the big homie LLMIND. Is It Good to You podcast, episode 1. Is It Good to You podcast, episode 1. My guest today is the big homie LLMIND. Make some noise for LLMIND, everybody. We got LLMIND on the podcast, man. This man is an absolute genius in many, many forms. And he's probably, out of all the producers that I consider my higher ups and guys that I really look up to, Ill is probably numero uno on that list, man, because bro is so innovative and continues to push the envelope and really continues to be in the trenches in his career rather than just settling down into the fame and into the excess. Like, he's really still in the trenches, and he will take the time out to talk to anybody that is really about their business, man. So everybody give an imaginary clap for LLMIND. LLMIND, man, how you doing, bro?
I'm great. First of all, thank you for the kind words, AJ. You already know, like, the story of how we linked up was crazy, but my favorite part about that is it was all about the music. You know what I mean? Like,
for sure. I think the first time we linked up was what, like 2019?
Yeah, something like that. Right before pandemic.
That's right. Right. Do you remember how that went?
Yeah, I mean, I think we just like followed each other on social media, and then found out there was some mutual friends there, and then like as soon as I heard your shit, I was like, man, this guy is serious about his craft, and that's coming off like many years of just like hearing lots of sounds and like sound packs and stuff, obviously, and you just kind of came out of nowhere and like kind of shitted on everybody, man. No disrespect, but like you really I really admire your work because you chose a thing. I mean, actually, if you want to get deep with it, like it chose you in a way, and
for sure.
You sort of like went all in organically and mastered and continued to practice this craft, and I admire that because especially in entrepreneurialism today, like, we all want to try a million things, and and with you, you sort of embody this one thing, even though you are a jack of a pretty good amount of trades. I mean, you play different, you play different instruments and you DJ and all that stuff, but the core of what you do is rhythm and texture and drums, and I admire that, man. So yeah, like, it's good to be here, man, and congrats on the new podcast, bro. It's an honor to be here, for real.
Dude, I appreciate it, man. There was no other way to set this thing off than to have you on it as the first episode, man, because I was talking about doing this podcast in like January 2023, but you know how it is, man. Life, career stuff, father of two, and and being on tour, like I've just been running around like a chicken with my head cut off, man. But this episode's gonna be really special, man. So I mean, for the people who might be listening to this who know absolutely nothing about you, which I'm guessing is not gonna be anybody, but just hypothetically speaking, if no one knows who you are, why don't you introduce yourself, man?
Yeah, I'm really just like a dude from New Jersey who started as just the creative kid, just curious about music and curious about putting things together and presenting art to the world, specifically through the medium of music. And I became curious enough about it to try it and be really bad at it and really terrible in the beginning. But you kind of keep going, and then you get better and better every day. It's like drops in a bucket, and then you meet a few people, you meet one person, and then they go tell another person, and then all of a sudden, you meet a random person who 10 years later becomes an executive, and you sort of, build up your net worth and network there. And I never stopped, but I think what I'm proud of myself for and I've been getting used to doing this lately, but I've been getting used to accepting flowers and really like, knowing that in my heart I'm humble, but also I'm also allowed to, be proud of what I've done too. So,
Sure,
I've really
sure.
been honored to have been doing this for almost 2 decades, and I really truly feel like I'm just starting still. But I think that's sort of, you know, the blessing that I'm experiencing now is being able to do this. And 20 years later, have worked with many, many, many goats and
Man, the
many.
list, I'll post the list somewhere, but I mean,
Yeah.
the artists alone that Ill has worked with, let alone other producers, let alone like productions, movies, smash Broadway plays, like it's really an unbelievable roster, man. Like,
Thank you,
yeah,
bro. Thank you, man.
when your jersey goes up in the rafters, man, whenever that is, your jersey is gonna be the rafters. Like, they're gonna have to make an entire section
Oh
of the
man.
rafters for that
Thank you,
jersey,
bro.
man.
Thank you, man. And I would say for people who haven't really been hip on what I've been doing, honestly, I like to sort of consider myself as like a person in music that enjoys finding gaps in the industry and cool things that could solve a problem,
Yeah,
whether that's
yeah,
creative or in a song or some kind of business idea. And I like to make an attempt and shoot my shot at potentially solving that issue. So I
yeah,
like to look
yeah,
for gaps. I like to look for gaps in life and say, okay, that's a cool thing. Why hasn't anyone done that yet? Let me try doing it. You know what I mean? And
for
so
sure.
I get a kick out of that.
That's hip, man. I mean, yeah, you've had instances where I tell producers or just music friends of mine who aren't familiar with you that you are the most, like, your ratio of being active in like the mainstream industry and completely outside of the mainstream industry is like, it's not even a 50-50, it's a 100-100. Like, your roster includes some of the biggest names in music, but you also have enough of your own presence, own brand, own products, like really everything that is the Illmind universe. If you just looked at that away from having worked with Drake, Beyonce, if you just looked at what you did on your own and are doing on your own, it's as big, damn near bigger than the mainstream activity that you have as a producer, and that's
Thank
something
you.
that I really, really admire.
Thank you,
That's
man.
that's why I talked about being in the trenches. Like, a lot of cats, they take this elevator up to whatever level it is that they get, and they never look back down or never even take the elevator back down to the ground to get their hands dirty. You know what I mean? And you've always been I mean, that's how we linked up. Like, you answered a DM from me when you had no idea who I was in 2019. You know what I mean? And I
Yep.
think you were Grammy winning, multi-platinum even then.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it wasn't like I knew Illmind back when he was a nobody. Like, you answered a DM from me back in 2019 when I was definitely a nobody,
Yeah.
and you just peeped the breaks that I sent you, and it was an honest conversation from there on out, man. Like, not a lot of cats who are as high up as you. Shit, there's cats that are way lower than you in the industry who would be real
Yeah.
funny style under those kind of circumstances, man. So
Yeah,
that's a
man.
really beautiful trait, you
No,
know.
thank you, man. And I kind of like pride myself in that in a way where like I kind of see producers, producers sort of have like all these different options, right? On like different things we can do. And I've
Yeah,
just always been a fan of like, why not try it? Why not do it? Like, why do I have to be one thing? It's like, okay,
it's very
I
real.
can, I can be an industry producer, right? Or what they call industry producer. And, I can get the placements and the plaques and the accolades and play that part and, do publishing deals and stuff like that. But like, why don't I do that, but also be like the guy who shows up in Atlanta and like tweets out my phone number and says, "Yo, meet me at a bar. We're doing a little mix, like a little meetup, and film it."
Right,
Right?
exactly.
Like,
God, dude, God willing, when I have that kind of reach, God willing, when I have that kind of reach, that's exactly the kind of stuff I want to be doing right now, man. I posted on my IG the other day that I was gonna look at. I posted on my IG the other day that I was gonna look at my account and see where the most of my customers for my drum break packs are. I'm gonna look at which city has the most of them, and I'm gonna just throw a party in that city at a
yeah,
bar somewhere. You know what I mean?
that's
Like the
crazy.
most supporters of the left field drum breaks packs. I'm gonna find whatever city that's in, even if it's in Europe, if it's in Copenhagen. But I mean, Copenhagen's one of my favorite cities I've ever been to. But yeah, whatever city it's in, I'm documenting that right now. I'm calling it. I'm gonna do a hang wherever that is. So
That's fire, bro.
if yeah, yeah,
You got to
yeah,
do that,
man.
and let me know when you do that, because I'll try to pull up to that.
There we go. There we
Come
go.
on, that's fire.
There we go.
Hell yeah.
We got a soft RSVP from LLMIND
Soft.
to the left field drum breaks hang, man.
No, man. If I'm around and it's doable, bro, I'm there, man. Like that's
All
the
right.
kind of shit. That's the kind of shit that's real, bro. Like,
Sure.
stuff like that is so much more real than like industry parties, or like even
Right.
like certain conferences, and like especially the
Yeah.
music ones. They have sort of this like they kind of have this like predatory energy to them, where it's like, okay, you pay a ton of money, you come see me, and then like I'm like answering the same questions over and over,
Right.
but I'm
Right.
not
Right.
really like interacting with people. I just sort of pop up and then the people leave, and then that's it, you know what I mean?
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of those conferences, a lot of producers that have conferences, or that show up at these big trade shows or whatever, they kind of give the same sort of spiel. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And they don't really tap into what the individuals in the room are going for. You know what I mean? But that's
exactly.
that's a whole separate thing, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can. The whole point of this Is It Good to You podcast is to take all of my music professional homies, at least for now. The point is to take all of my music professional homies and really just have a hang, man. So we've talked a little bit about music and just career choices and stuff like that. Let's get into the nitty gritty, man. All right, so top 3 compression ratios for trap music. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh shit.
Um,
Let's get nerdy, baby.
Yeah. Top.
You know what? Speaking
Top
of nerdy,
3.
real quick, to answer that question seriously, I still
Yeah.
use that DYN3 compressor in Pro Tools.
Dude, it's a killing.
I use it
compressor,
for
man.
everything, bro. I use it for
Yeah.
vocals, everything.
Yeah, no, when you have your thing, bro, I still use the tape delay native to Logic, and I use that as an actual tape saturator.
Yeah, there
Like
you go.
that's still one of my. I have every tape plugin on earth, and that's
Crazy.
still one of my favorite tape saturators.
Yeah.
When you get your thing, like why switch up from it unless you really need to, unless
Yeah.
it's time to,
Exactly.
Yeah, man. When you have your thing, it's just there, man.
Hmm.
So yeah, man. I mean, how's the resort been going, man? To let the folks know about resort, if they haven't heard about it yet.
Yeah, so Resort Miami, it's been great, man. Obviously, guys, AJ has been there before, so he's blessed us with his presence. But so
Yes,
I
sir.
moved to Miami last year from New York, and I was blessed enough to build a studio house basically in South Miami with my partner Don Mills. Shout to Don Mills. And
Don
so
Mills, man.
so Don and I were in the same boat. We were looking for a studio room to work out of, and one day we had lunch and we were like, let's just get a house together. So we found this really, really great house in South Miami, and we turned all the rooms into studio rooms. And so far, we've done 2 camps. We did our own camp, and then we also did a camp with SoCan. And
Yeah, the Latin camp that
we
looked
did a
fire.
we did a
man.
Latin camp with SoCan, and it's been incredible, man. Like, a lot of goats have been here so far. Timbaland, Boy Wonder, Il Angelo, Doc McKinney, AJ Hall. You know what I mean? Like a lot of really great people, and so it's been going great. It's a safe space, creative space for us to work, for me to work, for Don to work, and then we have 2 studio rooms in the back of the house that are actually for rent. So people can actually go online and book those rooms after becoming a member. So you can sign up, fill out an application, and then if we accept your application, then you can gain access to booking a room back there. And we've had a ton of bookings so far, and it's been less than a month. So, if any of you are interested, if you're in Miami and, you want to come use the room and do it for 8 hours and jump in the pool and get some sun and get creative, then check out the website and fill out an application. It's resort with a Z. So it's resortmiami.com. So
yes, indeed, man. And those of y'all who actually haven't been there, I've been there. I think I came through one day, and then I actually came through a camp another time. I think that's what it was. For those of you who are not even in Miami, if you're in the Florida area, or if you literally just want to fly into Miami, a little gem is that the house is actually across the street from a Quality Inn. So if you don't live in Miami, if you live around there, if you live in Tampa, Fort Lauderdale, like damn near Key West even, you can literally stay at the Quality Inn across the street. It's a pretty nice hotel, and you can take a 3-minute Uber over to the house. So that's kind of a gem.
And
too.
also a side note too, both of these studio rooms have convertible sofas that convert into beds. We have pillows, we have comforters, and we have a full bath in the back. So
oh man, you shouldn't have told me that. I'm coming through tomorrow,
bro.
man.
Yeah, we got a full bath and everything. So people have crashed at the house many times, and if you book a room overnight, let's say, you totally have that option. And I don't want to put the rate out in public now, but well, actually it is public.
Sure.
So I'll tell you, but we have the rates are really cheap. They're only $350 for 12 hours total.
Yeah, that's for those of you who are not up on studio time rates, especially for 12 hours in a really nice spot and a spot where you might literally run into Ilman and Don Mills, or God knows who's actually in the house. You might run into some like multiple goats, like 3, 4, 5 of them. That rate is absolutely a steal, man. That's insane. God bless y'all for being able to keep it that low. Honestly,
and
man,
the reason why we wanted to give a good rate is because like most of the studios in Miami are so expensive. They're unaffordable. You can't afford them unless you're a signed artist or you have some kind of like decent budget. We're talking at least $1,000 per shift per room, right?
It's
maybe
you'll
find one for like 800 maybe, and that's with no engineer, right? And so we wanted to create a space for that demographic of up and comers who can't quite afford those rates but still want to be at a studio with half an acre of pool, and also open it up to maybe, like you said, AJ, running into me or Don or whoever's at the house during that day. And I preach all the time. Like I remember when I used to do my events, I used to tell people one of the most powerful things you can do to network with people as a producer is to book studio time at a studio.
Yeah,
because you might
to just be in the mix.
Just to be in the mix, and you might run into somebody, right? Especially if it's a big studio, whether you're in LA or Miami or New York or Atlanta or whatever. Right. And so we want to double down and say, look, not only are we giving you like something you can probably afford, but also it'll be an opportunity to run into somebody that you can be inspired by, someone that you might want to meet. And so we wanted to double down on the opportunity. So we just, we just wanted to open up and create opportunity for people out here in Miami, and do something a little bit different and kind of, just like bring the community together somehow.
That's so real, man. And low key, speaking of Miami, like Miami in general is kind of, there's this LA to Miami pipeline happening, or migration, should I say. You know what I mean?
A lot of people.
There's this industry migration that's starting to happen where, all of a sudden Timbaland's spending more time in Miami. All of a sudden Hitmaker's spending more time in Miami. All of a sudden Taz Taylor's tweeting about Miami 5 different times a day. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, they're all coming down, man. They're coming down in droves. And, I'm glad that I came during the time that I did. And I don't see myself leaving anytime soon. And look, I dig Florida. Florida gets a bad rap with a lot of things,
It is strange that it gets a bad rap, man.
Florida's a punching bag.
Wait a minute, man.
Yeah,
look, we're gonna put this thing to rest right now.
Why though? Yeah, like why do people? Florida's like a punching bag for people. I don't understand why.
Bro, Florida is everything that everyone loves about California without everything that everybody hates about New York.
Yes, yes,
Dig?
yes.
Like that's why Florida's got so many people from New York moving down here
Yeah,
because they
I was
want
one of them.
the polar opposite of what they deal with in New York, man. You know
Man,
what I'm saying?
there was
Like,
something like 250,000 New Yorkers moved
yeah,
to Miami, specifically
yeah,
Miami,
man.
in the year in 2022 or 2021, and like
Yeah, man.
I was definitely part of that little percentage. So
Sure, sure. No, it's nuts, man. There's all these articles coming out with like Tampa being one of the best cities to move to in 2024. Fort Lauderdale being like number 5 on that list, like of all the cities in the U.S. So yeah, Florida gets a bad rap, man, but we are fully out here, whether we're born and raised or we're moving here from other places, man.
yeah,
Florida's definitely the place to be, and God willing, in future years we will be, Tampa will be catching up with Miami, but we
I
got to we
think
got
it
to have a
will.
couple more.
I think
Yeah,
it
we got to
will,
have a couple
bro.
more industry goats. We got to have the AJ Hall ascension into
Yeah.
greatness before anything happens. I think I'm going to be the one that kicks open the floodgates for that.
Yeah,
You
man.
know.
Yeah, that's all it takes, dude. I mean, Tampa's up
Yeah.
next. Fort Lauderdale is pretty much on its way.
Yeah.
Orlando has its own thing going on. So
Orlando's low key. Orlando's got some killers that live there, bro. Like a lot of producers that don't really reveal where they stay at. There's a lot of producers that are actually in Orlando, man. Honestly,
yeah,
I talk about this with a lot of the homies, man. Like we're in the age where, being a producer and even a music creator, unless you want your career to be playing music with other people in front of people real time, unless that is your absolute dream, it really doesn't matter where you are in 2023 going into 2024, man. It just
true.
doesn't, it's just not the thing anymore. That's how me and you linked up. I was living in New Orleans at the time. You were living in New York at the time, but we had, I had songs of yours with my drum breaks on them, and we were not even remotely in the same place.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
exactly. Yeah, you couldn't be anywhere, and I think honestly I think it just really depends on what you're trying to pursue, right? Like I tell people all the
Oh,
time, there's no real reason to live in as much as I love New York. There's no real
yeah,
reason to live in New York and pay New York premium prices if you
it's
don't
insane,
if you
man.
don't physically have to be there, right? Like if
Yeah,
you're sort of like a mostly mobile income entrepreneur, then shit, get out of New York, move to Jersey at least, or
at least, bro.
like
Keep your sanity at least.
yeah. So
Yeah, man. Or
yeah,
Philly, go up, go down, go south a little bit.
exactly. You know what, AJ? You
Yeah.
know what I want to ask you, dude? So
What's up?
obviously you have like so many different drum breaks and like I mean shit, probably thousands at this point. How do
It's
you
definitely. I counted the other day. It's over 900 right now. Over 9,000. It's
over
over 900 right
9,000?
now. It's over 900 right now. But if you count the custom batches that I've done for like other producers that are
Yeah.
one of one batches, it's well over a
Yeah.
thousand. Like way like
Insane.
2,500 at least
So
probably.
I wanted to ask you, so I can't imagine how many like or when you sit down in front of those drums, uh I always wondered how you go about coming up with patterns, right? And so I want to
Yeah.
ask you, does the texture of the kit and the way it's mic'd and what you run it through, does the texture of the kit influence the pattern, or does your pattern sort of dictate how to texturize the kit, or
Yeah.
is it kind of free flow?
That's nobody's ever actually asked me that question before. Now that I'm thinking about it, yeah, I mean, thinking out loud, there are times where the way I have the kit tuned, I'm going for a specific thing. Like if I have the bass drum wide open with nothing dampening the head, and it's just going bro,
Yeah.
like I'm obviously going to play a kick pattern with not a lot of notes in it, right? I'm going to play a real simple kick pattern, or vice versa. If it's tuned up really high and there's a pillow right up against the front head, and I'm only getting that boop 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 out of it, I'm going to play a more active kick pattern, or
Right.
some and on the other side of the coin, sometimes it's the exact opposite. Sometimes I want a really, really soft kick sound, a really, really, tight decay and everything like that. And I only hit it once, just boom.
Yeah.
Boom. You know what I mean? So
Wow.
it really comes down to what kind of break I'm going for. Like if I'm making one of my slow burn packs, I'm going for really, really simple patterns because those are all my super grimy, like underground Griselda type
Yeah.
rap breaks. You know what I mean? So I'm going for
All
super,
that
yeah,
shit.
exactly. Yeah. I'm going for super simple patterns. Now, packs like the Shot Caller pack, where it was all breaks, sort of modeled after the Bill Withers Use Me vibe. Kendrick, Sing About Me for producers who don't know
Yeah.
who that is.
Yeah.
That's where that break came from, by the way. Know your history, know your
Yeah,
breaks.
bro.
That shot caller pack, I'm playing really active kick patterns, but it's because it's more of a 16th note kind of.
Yeah.
There's like a lot of activity in it, right? I really just enjoy the freedom that I have because I've had these drum sounds in my head since I was a kid, man.
Yeah.
I remember being 8, 9 years old listening to like fusion records in the car with my dad, not having a drum set. I started playing drums when I was 15. So not having a drum set ever, I was still obsessed with drum sounds, you know, just the way that they felt, the attitude in them, the way that they can make or break the song. I used to buy albums from my favorite bands and I would categorize them like this is a better album than the first album, but the first album I like the drum sounds way better. So the first album is still, you know what I mean? Like I
Yeah.
was doing that at 8, 9, 10 years old, way before I touched a pair of sticks. So I've always had the advantage of no matter what I'm doing on the kit, I've always had the advantage of knowing exactly the sound I want before I play a single note. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
And that translates all the way from playing to the pattern to the mixing to the final export of the thing. Like I hear what the final export of the break is going to be like before I even pick up the sticks to play. You know what I'm saying?
Insane.
That's kind of where I'm at.
That's
Yeah.
crazy because it's very similar. I would imagine for a lot of producers, but for me, like,
Yeah.
especially the beats that I've been making recently, like, whatever texture drums I choose, like the snare, the kick, the hat, that influences the combination of those three influence like what kind of pattern I want to do.
That's
It's
very
crazy.
real. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Like if you got an 808, you're probably not going to have, if you got a big, long,
Yeah.
like spins type 808,
Yeah.
you're probably not going to go boom, 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 boom,
No.
you know.
Unless I'm
But
a
if you got a real
unless I'm
sharp
a
kick,
psychopath.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. Bro, actually, it's funny. We had an absolute session at that LA camp, the Wallace Lane camp in LA.
Yeah.
There was you held court in that main room for like 45 minutes. No, it was like 90 minutes, bro. It was a while. You were just playing beats off the phone, and it was just everybody tripping about how diverse the beats were. They were almost all trap beats, but they weren't, if y'all get what I'm saying. Like you played one beat where there was a kick pattern that was dictating the whole thing, and there was like 808s, but in 16th notes under it.
Oh yeah.
Like just one, like boom, 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 boom. Bro, that messed my head up more than that's a core memory music moment for me because
Crazy.
that unlocked a level of freedom in my head that I never would have even thought of making that choice, and it sounded so fire.
Man,
that was
thank you.
unbelievable, man.
Yo,
Yeah.
I know what beat that is. That beat got placed too, and the song hasn't come out yet.
There you go.
Yeah, man. Thank you, dude.
That's crazy, man. Hold on one second.
Yeah.
All right, I'm just getting you back on my speakers. Go ahead and talk.
Yeah. It was just one of those check 1 2. Does it work? Check.
Yeah.
Check 1 2.
Yeah, that was just one of those beats where what?
Yeah, I was gonna say that was just one of those like happy accidents. You know what I mean? You know when you try shit and it's like, oh, that does sound cool. Like,
Wait a second.
Yeah, it's like I think a lot of the joy in beat making is like trying new things and like exploring unexplored territory, and it's doing those things where it's like, like I've never done this before, or like this could be really, really bad, but let me try it. Like that's my favorite question I like to ask myself is like, this could be very, very, very bad, but
Yeah.
let me go ahead and do it anyway, and then dial
Yeah,
back from
and
there.
but you're
You know
you're
what I
never
mean?
gonna know that outcome until you follow through with it, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah, exactly. So yeah,
That's real, man.
boom,
That's so
yeah.
real. And you've been one of the only producers over the years who has not only morphed your sound and adapted with the times, but you've also taken the characteristics in your sound and completely made them a part of the modern lexicon. Like you're one of the only producers that makes trap beats with truthfully like grimy samples. You know what I mean? You're
Thanks.
really one of the only producers that's successfully laying 808s and trap drums under samples that could literally have like Raekwon on them. You know what I
Thank
mean?
you, man. Thank you, bro.
Like that's and
Yeah.
there's not a lot of producers that one even care about that or two can really even pull that off. You know what I mean?
Thank you, bro. Thank you, man. Yeah, it's all experimentation, but I'm
Sure.
really happy that like what I do and what I continue to strive to do is you know, considered modern and considered mainstream. I mean, I always try to like put myself in the future and like sort of go backwards from there. And so I never want to go
Real.
backwards, you know what I mean? Like even if I'm doing
Yeah.
boom bap, it's like which I just did like
No, your boom
honestly.
bap beats are anything but dated.
Yeah, like
Anything but dated.
thank
Like
you, man.
it's there's so many cats who claim that they're like boom bap. And it's like, all right, this sounds like a throwaway from '98. Is that what you mean? You
Yeah.
know,
It's so funny
like
when you play like boom bap type beat for like someone, and no offense to people that were born after 2005, but if you're born
sure.
after 2002 and you hear
Yeah.
like a boom bap beat, it's like, ooh, that's a cool lo-fi beat. They just call
Yeah,
it lo-fi.
exactly. No,
It's like,
it's seen as
dude.
like this primitive form of communication. Yeah.
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 It's so crazy when they call it lo-fi. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Do you
No,
know
it's
do you know
that's
who Pete Rock is?
yeah, that's a generational thing. You must learn. Yeah, man.
It's
That's
crazy.
crazy, bro.
Yeah, but I love
So
that era,
outside of,
man. I
no,
hope,
bro.
yeah, I hope that it like what I'm trying to do is like get more mainstream artists like to embrace that sound. That's sort of
Yeah,
my new mission.
absolutely.
Like new artists that are not named J. Cole and Drake and Kendrick
Right.
because they already rap over shit like that, but like
Sure, sure.
I
They've already
want
proved themselves 100 times over.
yeah, like I'd love to hear like Lil Baby or Lil Durk, you know what I mean? Do some
Yeah.
with like just their fast flow, like that's good. That'll be fire if they try it.
Right, exactly. And if anybody has the power to make that happen, it's you because you can actually. I'm sure there's been plenty of producers who have wanted to make that happen, but getting past the A&Rs sometimes can be difficult. You know,
Also too,
A&Rs and
like
record
yeah,
labels.
exactly. Also too, like no offense to anyone out there, but like people think boom bap is easy. It ain't easy, bro. Like
No,
I be hearing like click, you know, and no offense to producers that like click with mouse. I do that sometimes too, but like there's something very human and very there's a finesse to boom bap and it's funny when I hear, you know, people that don't do it and I'm like, ugh. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
it's rough. Yeah,
Like,
it's rough. You
ugh.
can tell that that the lineage is not really
The
there.
lineage ain't there, man. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So there's a
yeah.
science to it.
I go through that with musicians all the time. Like there's drummers that are amazing pocket drummers and funk drummers and gospel drummers that want to play jazz, and it's like it's not. It's a different. You're playing a different instrument at that point,
Yeah,
fam. Like you're not. You know what I mean?
it's
Like
great.
it's a language thing. It's a sound choice thing. Just like with production in multiple genres. You know.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. But teach your own. Like, I respect it
Sure.
all. Like, you know, if you're not particularly good at one thing, like give it a try, and it's probably gonna suck in the beginning, but like if you keep digging in and keep going and you love it enough, like you're gonna get better. You know what I mean? So
That's real. That's
yeah,
real.
yeah,
Motivational words from Illmind, man.
yeah, man, yeah, man.
So yeah, bro. Outside of the music, we're on the Is It Good to You podcast. It's kind of a lifestyle thing, with music peppered in. How's the family life been, man?
Family is amazing, dude. My daughter's she's getting big, man. She's about to turn 3. at the top of next
Okay.
year. So she's 3 going on 21. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah, of course, man.
but family is
3
like,
is when they start. I have a 6-year-old daughter and a 2-year-old boy, and 3 is when they start having their own opinions about stuff.
yep,
You know
yep.
what I mean? 3 is when they start having preferences.
She's already starting that early. She's very
Yeah.
specific with her plate colors. Like if you put the wrong plate, it's over. If you cut the strawberries wrong, she's not eating them.
That's it.
If the
Yeah.
rice is too
Yeah.
cold or too sticky, she's not having it. So we're definitely
Oh, she's ready for that. She's ready for those Michelin star restaurants.
yeah,
Dude.
bro. Yeah, bro.
She's already born into it, man. She knows what time it is.
Exactly, but it's a blessing, man, and you know, I love Florida, bro. I love Miami. Like, quality of life here is much easier than in New York. I don't know if it's because New York is tough or because Florida is just got a setup that is very conducive to living a good life. Maybe a combination of
Yeah,
both, but ever since I moved out here, man, I feel like I have kind of had this like rebirth of myself and my career and my mindset and just everything going on, and I'm starting to see the fruits of that labor. And it's it's
absolutely,
only
man.
been a little bit over a year, so yeah, man, everything is super kosher, dude. I can't, and by the time you guys are watching this, which is what you're launching this around Thanksgiving.
I might be launching this. I'm not really sure. Like, I'll launch this eventually. I'm gonna start rolling the clips like fairly soon, in like a day or two. But the actual episode,
Yeah.
yeah,
Whenever you get to it. Yeah. But
yeah.
but I was gonna say, I'm definitely looking forward to this month and also next year. Like, I think there's so
The
much.
holidays, man.
The holidays are amazing, and I think that next year is gonna be like a really, really explosive year for music, for tech, for AI, for everyone, man. I think that a lot of people are going to see the fruits of their labor next year. I don't
Dude,
know.
man, I feel like you're preaching directly to me right now.
Yeah, bro. No, it's true. Like, I don't know. I kind of feel that energy. Like, people. If you don't know, one thing about me is like I'm a very like. Don makes fun of me. He says I wear like a tin hat wherever I go, and I kind of do because
Yeah.
I'm like all into the conspiracy shit and fucking, just questioning
Yeah.
things and just spirituals, everything.
Okay.
But yeah, I really believe that next year is going to be like a very special year. I think things are going to be revealed next year. So like if you've been grinding hard in like a really honest way and you're really striving for something, I think there's going to be a breakthrough. But also too, if you've been low key doing some shady shit, I think that's going to reveal itself
Ooh.
too. You know what I mean? So I think
Yeah, very much, very much. What's that saying? What's done in the dark will always come to the light.
yes,
Ooh,
exactly.
that's bars.
Exactly,
Dude,
man. But you know what I'm hoping for? Like, I'm hoping that music becomes a little bit more brighter. Like, I think
definitely, man.
we're
Yeah,
in dark times right now. What do you think of it all? What do you think it's gonna take, bro?
for sure. I think there. First of all, what I'd like to see in 2024 in rap is way less of a gap musically and culturally between the mainstream and the underground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think there needs to be more. I would love to see more experimentation in the mainstream, and I would love to see people really taking the time to put out like a prolific body of work in the underground like the mainstream artists do.
Yeah.
You know, like, yeah, there's something to be said for an underground rapper that drops a project every month. But if the actual effort put into each project every month is like 10 hours studio time total, then we're not really getting like an evolution of that artist. We're just getting output. We're hitting a quota. You know what I mean? And sometimes for mainstream artists too. But really, when you hear, when you hear the Kendrick album, for instance, like that is a project that took some artistry involved.
Yeah.
I would love to hear way more of that in the underground. Not to say that it's not in the underground, but with the underground champions. You know what I mean? And I would just love to see, honestly, from the mainstream, just more experimentation. Not always feeling like you got to have the club banger. Not always feeling like you got to have you got to have auto tune on your vocals. Like I would love to
Yeah.
hear. That's why Utopia was such an interesting project to me, man. Utopia, that Travis album, that to me is a multi-millionaire artist with absolutely nobody whispering in his ear, no quotas to fill, no boxes to check.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that was real artistry with the highest budget possible.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Which
Yeah.
is really amazing to me.
Exactly. And that's exactly what Kanye is doing right now, right? That's why I think we're
Sure.
all sort of like, most of us at least are looking forward to, what he's gonna bring. And, he's got, like you said, he's one of those artists where it's like full creative control, unlimited budget. Let's see what you got.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And so like the pressure
Sure,
is there,
sure.
but
And that statement you just made, full creative control, full budget, let's see what you got. That's how music used to work.
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like that's you used to have artists that would put out 3, 4 albums before they popped, and they would have the budget to do so.
Yeah.
You know, that's I would just love to see more of that from the artists that do have it like that financially, to just really put the time in and experiment and make some just dope shit. I mean, you see what Alchemist is doing. Alchemist is evolving, man.
Al's
Alchemist,
got the right idea, bro. He's got the right
bro,
idea.
Alchemist shuns no one.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. My favorite thing ever is when Russ drops a new project and he'll send out the videos to all the producers that he hired for the project. And my favorite thing ever is to watch the comment sections on like Ninth Wonder's page and Alchemist page. You know what I mean? With like, oh, this isn't the real hit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's my favorite thing in the world.
Yeah, bro.
Mwah, I love it.
Crazy.
It tastes so good.
It's
That's
so
my favorite
crazy.
thing in the world is to watch bitter old heads, man.
Bro, it's so crazy, man. And like, I was the new young Asian kid to them when
Sure.
I first came out,
Sure.
and they shitted on me crazy, man. I got
Yeah.
so shitted on, and like, I just feel very fortunate and blessed that I kind of got through that.
Vindicated.
Yeah, because like, think about it, man. Like when you're a kid, like I started this pretty young, but I was able to catch sort of the tail end of like the bitter old head generation, and like
Yeah, man.
that could break you down, bro. You know what I mean? And I feel
Very
like
much so.
some of my peers back then potentially were broken down from just like the pressure and you switched up your style, or like you're corny for like having a YouTube channel, or like selling drum
Yeah.
kits, or
Or
whatever it
literally
was.
using an 808. Some
Yeah,
people
like,
literally
oh,
like,
you put
hate
in-
808s.
You put an 808 in there, you're trash. It's like man, it's the same story all the time, and you can't let any of those people get to you. And I hope that I'm one prime example of just like someone who was able to be like, you know what, fuck all you guys. I'm gonna do it to my heart, and like, and I think having done this for as long as I have so far, it's kind of paying off. You know what I mean? So like,
Yeah, kind of.
yeah,
I'll say kind
it
of.
is,
That's
it is. You know what?
hilarious.
It really is paying off. So I'm glad, you know what I mean. So, but the cool thing about like evolving yourself as a creative is like you're just like gaining more skills, right? Like it's like I say it all the time. It's like Neo from the Matrix when he's like sitting on the chair and he's like they got the thing strapped and he's like training himself.
Yeah.
But bro, making music is the same thing. It's like if I started making boom bap, like when I first started making beats, it was all sample chops. If I had
Sure.
just only kept doing that, I don't know where I would be today. You know what I mean? And also I wouldn't have discovered the joy of like producing other types of music, And so it's sort of like a win-win, and there's no positive ROI to only doing one genre because haters are telling you to do that. You know what I mean?
Wow,
Like,
that's a gem right
like,
there,
bro.
yeah, man.
Like, there's no payoff to that. You're
Sure,
wasting
sure.
time, and then 5-10 years go by, and you're like, why did I listen to those haters? They're
Right,
they're
right.
grown and
Yeah.
they're bitter, and like, why am I trying to make them happy, right?
There's a gigging musician analogy for that, and I used to tell my homies this all the time about us gigging musicians. We kind of posture ourselves on these gigs sometimes, right? We get we look around, we're playing live at a show, and we look around, and all of a sudden it's like the three baddest drummers in town in the corner that just stepped in, right? So all of a sudden we start playing all this stuff that's not necessary for the gig, right? And I always used to tell my homies, like, bro, those three drummers that just showed up to the show, first of all, they're there because they want the gig. First of all, they're there because they want your spot. They're not there to support you most of the time.
Yeah.
Second of all, they didn't pay the cover charge. They didn't pay for tickets to get in here. You're not playing for them.
Yeah.
You're playing for the people that actually came to see the artist that you're playing with.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Or God willing, just came to see you play drums. So
Exactly.
it's the same thing with producing, like doing something sometimes for like only the support of your peers or the approval of your peers can really weigh you down and hold you back in the long run. You know?
Yeah, man, it's true. I feel like the correct order is musician feeds fans, which then create energy, which then the peers look at and say, "Oh, that's cool." Right?
There you go.
Right?
See, that really is, that's the signal chain. That's the mastering chain. We'll go
chain.
Producer analogy.
Yeah, that's the circuitry. Let's get real nerdy.
Yeah, exactly. That's the
diagram?
that's the circuit board.
What's the circuit board diagram thing?
Yeah, exactly.
Starts with an A. The flow chart. That's the flow chart.
The flow chart, exactly.
It's musician, and then the little arrow that goes down, and then goes to fans, which is like a circle.
Yeah.
And then there's another arrow that goes from fans back up to peer, and then the peer connects back with musician. So it's
there you go, circle. Bro. Just built the career computer live on this podcast, man.
There you go.
The career computer, my
Hell
guy,
yeah.
Man. Before we get up out of here, I always like to ask my guests the same question one time, and it's if you can recall this, and just so the viewers know. None of my guests, including LLMIND, were prompted on this. So, what do you think? What do you think the one moment or the one like realization was for you where everything in your career kind of flipped? Or not necessarily the make or break moment, but what was the thing that you realized you started paying attention to most that really made everything blossom to you? And it could be as esoteric as humanly possible, or you can literally say like, the moment I got the Waves LA2A.
Yeah. Just be a real fucking nerd with it. No, as you were asking me that, I thought of what it was just now, and it gave me chills. And the thing that it is that I realized is the most magical moments that create the most impact and are responsible for the most advancement of one's career is the moment that you are in flow creating. Anytime that I spend an extended, concentrated amount of time being in flow, whether it's like making a bunch of loops in one day for like 5 hours and not even forgetting to eat, or whatever that impactful time period is of like intense flow work happens,
Wow.
all of a sudden doors start to open. And I remember, every time I sort of had like, every year that I had like an intense run of like placements and opportunities and this and that, there was the common denominator to it was these sort of clumps of time, whether it's a whole day or a whole week or month, or just sort of like clumps spread out of just being in flow very often. Sitting, making beats and turning the phone off and just getting lost in the art and getting lost in the creation of the music. And I think that the more you do that, the more you sort of become closer to your purpose in life. And also too, it's the most real experience you can experience as a human being, because everything about being in flow is about being in the moment. And the only thing real on earth, at least in this realm, is the present moment, right? They say that and there's actually a scientific study the past is actually on average 70% inaccurate, right? And so
Wow.
if you ask me, hey, ill, like, what did you do last Tuesday, last week? I could tell you a few things that I might remember, but I'm leaving at least 70% of it out because I just don't
Yeah.
remember or it's inaccurate. And so if the past is 70% inaccurate and the future is impossible to predict, which it is, then the only real thing happening is right now, the present moment. It's the only real thing
Damn.
that you have control of. It's the thing that determines the future, and it's sort of that pocket of time of existence that we have, and it's all we have is the present moment. And so I feel like when we're in flow in whatever art form we're pursuing, we're sort of like in this like high spiritual realm, and it's like it's our calling, it's our purpose. And so I know that was deep, but
Not at all, man. Not at
yeah.
all. I mean, honestly, I'm sitting here. I got a rum bottle on the side of me, a glass of rum on the other side. But I mean, honestly, I really, really feel the same way. The thing I ask people this because I know 100% what mine is when I decided to stop paying attention to what a lot of my musician peers wanted of me, and I stopped trying to like I tweeted a while ago. This was like 3 years ago, and it's one of the most engaged tweets I've ever put out.
Hmm.
It was want to get happy real quick, figure out who you're trying to prove something to, and stop trying to prove it to them.
There you go. That's a
And
huge
that
gem.
like yeah, and that's what really propelled me into that's everything. That's what propelled me into really investing in my studio setup. That's what propelled me into starting to make beats, starting to work with artists back in 2020. I have no time to make beats anymore, by the way. I know there's people who watch this podcast who've been asking me to send them beats forever. I have no time to do it anymore. I'm gonna find the time in 2024 to really get in a state in a flow state, like Ill
Yeah.
says. But anyway, it's that ignoring what I was trying to prove and just letting go of all that. That's what eventually led me to this state of, putting out drum breaks, not worrying about how I looked on camera, not worrying about what my voice sounded like when I made the videos for my drum breaks, not worrying about if anyone was going to like my drum breaks, even though my
Yep.
first pack that I ever put out still to this day has the most placements from it. Like that. And that's not me bragging. That's just me speaking on the fact that the moment I stopped paying attention to what I was trying to prove to whoever, that immediately like skyrocketed me towards my purpose and what I believe I was put on this earth to do. You
Yep.
know, like that really just launched me into this stratosphere that you see me in right now, and still getting my hands dirty every day. So
Big facts,
you're
bro. Big
here.
facts. Like
Yeah,
when you,
all listeners out there, you're hearing this from somebody who has made a career for himself in the last 3 years and is just starting to get going. And you're hearing the exact same thing from somebody who is light years ahead of me and is probably one of the most famous, most successful producers in the world. So there's a common factor here. You know what I mean? So
that's the common factor,
yeah,
and it's never not true, regardless of what
yeah,
level you're at, right? And but that's a big gem, man. Like letting go of trying to prove yourself to a specific person or a specific group of people, because then once you do that, it almost feels like the chains are off, and you feel like the
yeah,
shackles are off, and you're free to basically have fun and experiment, and
for
like so
sure.
I like to kind of look at things like, instead of chasing certain people or chasing things, you sort of do your thing in the present moment, and then you become a magnet and you start to attract,
That's
right?
real.
Like if you think
That's real.
about
Yeah.
if,
And
if you
honestly,
think about
that's,
it, all
that's,
the big
that's
opportunities were attracted.
sure. Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, most of the things that happen for me, there's big producers that I DM'd back in 2019 that just followed me yesterday. You know what I mean? Like there's big producers that I DM'd with my breaks back in 2019, and it's not their fault that they didn't respond back to me. They're huge and famous, but just now, a couple of them in the last few weeks have reached out to me and asked me for drum breaks. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So
and they would have done it. They would have done that even if you didn't send that DM, because
exactly.
they didn't reply to you because of your DM. They replied to you because of your work.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's that's another gem, man. Do the valuable thing first and then have it ready. Like
Yes.
don't don't pull up to an opportunity talking about what you can provide. Figure out a way to have the meal ready,
Have it.
and whatever that is, figure out a way to have the thing that you do ready and on display and already put out, rather than, I can record vocals, I can engineer, like literally have that on display, whether it's with content or
Yeah.
with records that you've put out, or in my case it was making 150 drum breaks before I set foot on an online platform to put out a pack.
Yeah.
And it was sending those out, field testing them. Ill was one of the first people to ever use my breaks, and so it was providing the valuable thing way before any of the commerce was even a thought.
Yep. Exactly, dude. Exactly. You hit it right on the nose, man. So, but yeah, that's the vibe, man. I think that regardless of what level you're on, like it's all, it doesn't really change much. The higher you go in the totem pole, the core fundamentals just don't change. They're the same. It's stay in flow, attract, become a magnet, don't chase people down, and just focus on your craft, and you sort of have to let go too, right? Like you can't really, like, I kind of look at it like, you know, you have to give the universe or God or whatever higher being you believe in, you have to give that entity an opportunity and a chance to bless you. And if you do too much, you know what I mean? Like if you do too much, you're kind of stepping on their toes, because then they're like, well, I'm trying to help you, I'm about to bless you, but you're doing the most right now. Like give me
what's
some
that
space.
what's that LeBron meme from the playoff game where he was doing this to the other player, like, bro, it's right there.
Exactly. Like do you, like, you're on the right track, but like calm down a little bit. Like just keep doing you. Trust me. Give me a little bit of time. Be patient. I'm gonna bless you in a minute. You know what I mean? So
that long game, man. Not to get too preachy, that long game, man, really is the oof, man. I could talk about cats that aren't playing the long game all day, man, because I see it every day, whether it's with sample packs or with beats or just any type of career thing. There's cats giving up rights or portions of rights to their own intellectual property, to their own beats, to their, just for the illusion of eliminating friction, when really the only friction is the time that you're not willing to put in.
Exactly.
To have your own thing going. Like it's not friction with a customer base. It's not friction with an artist that you're trying to work with. It's just friction in your own head because you're not patient enough to play that long game,
Exactly, dude. Exactly, man.
Yeah,
but
that's real, man.
Yeah, man.
Well, outside of any of the outside of all the motivational stuff, man, let's go completely out of left field. I'm the creator of Left Field Drum Breaks. We're gonna go out of left field, man. What's your favorite alcohol at the moment? Like what's the go-to?
Well, ever since I moved to Miami,
bro,
it's actually been Casamigos. A little bit of Blanco with some with some club soda and a squeeze of fresh lime, or straight with a little bit of ice. So Casamigos has been the go-to, but I'm not like a super drinker, but when I do, it's usually Casamigos. But I'm always going to be a fan of like a good whiskey as well.
There you go.
Just like being a Brooklynite for more than
right. Those early LLMIND graphics with the JMO bottle.
It's Jameson. Yeah. It's a good Glenlivet. You know what I mean? Like a little 18. Thirsty. It's just one of those. Real oaky, real wood, just that. Like, just taste the barrel in those wonderful barrel notes.
Yeah, them barrel notes, tones.
Yeah. Exactly. But those are my go-tos right now. But I'll do another one though. Another one that for another favorite for a long time. is just really just tequila with I think I just said it actually, tequila with club soda and lime. That's so fresh.
Yeah.
It's my favorite.
Perfection. Yeah,
Yeah.
perfection.
Yeah.
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 That's perfection, man. That's absolute perfection.
Hell yeah.
Well, yeah, man, it was amazing to have you on this podcast, to have you kick off episode 1 of the Is It Good to You podcast. And for those of you who are wondering, the title Is It Good to You comes from countless soul singers that I used to hear live, whether in person or on records from the 70s. They would always address the crowd and say, "Y'all all right out there? Is it good to you?" That's kind of what I'm getting at with this. It's much more of a hang. It's much more soulful. Like, this is not a producer podcast. It's not a, it's a lifestyle podcast. It's a culture podcast, and we just get up and talk, man. We can talk about whoever wants to talk about, but really, it's just about life and getting to it, man. So if you're out there, get to it, man. Stop messing around and jump. Put your art out into the world and go get it, man.
Hell yeah,
This
man.
has been,
Shout to Is It Good
this has
to You?
been episode 1.
Hell
Yeah,
yeah,
man.
Yo, it's an honor, bro.
And use more drum breaks in 2024. You know where to go.
There's only one place to go, guys. Okay, it's this man right here, the #1 best drum breaks man of all time. Like, dead ass for real though. Like, it just absolutely insane. You could take a loop. You could take a loop and just like throw one of AJ's drum loops on it, and the beat's finished. Honestly, like, it's just crazy.
Oof, man.
But
It's a lofty claim. I think they'll have to
bro.
try it out for themselves. I think they'll have to try it out and see.
Yeah, man. So go
See
get
if it
those
works.
packs. Shout to the Is It Good to You, right? Is It Good to You podcast, man. AJ Hall, I
man.
appreciate you having me, man. We'll kick it off.
That's the
with
cat.
this.
That's LLMIND, everybody.
Yes, sir. And come visit me in Miami if you want. ResortMiami.com.
I'm coming down soon.
All social media, at LLMIND Producer. AJ, we gotta have you down here. We're doing a camp soon, so we'll announce details soon. But man, it was an honor.
Yeah, I'm in there like swimwear, man. You know where I'll be.
Hell yeah. Let's go.
Yeah, man.
Word.
All right, y'all. That's it. We out.
Peace.